That is ridiculous.
It's an honest opinion from a real negative fan.
A very negative Nets.
But I've been sad all day, but I've come to terms.
What? Stop! Wait.
No, I've accepted it. I've accepted it. So I'm now all in on the Armor Titan.
No.
cheer for him.
First of all, if y'all lose to the Grizzlies, you just have to jump on the Grizzlies bandwagon.
No.
What do you mean, no?
I want to see that trick get
whoop that.
Hey, speaking of that, come on, man, like, stay classy, Memphis. Like, what?
Oh no! You're not. Nope.
No. I saw, if you look at them in the stands, I saw 7-year-old white dudes swinging their shirts, yelling, "Whoop that trick!" And I'm like, what has this world come to, man? What is this, dude?
Y'all started it. What do you mean?
No. Oh, did you hear it? It was a false report from someone.
When you told me that, I was like, "There's no way he said that."
He was singing the song during warm-ups because it was playing in the arena, and then a reporter took it and ran with it.
Okay.
Yep. That's how they get you.
I mean, hey man, it creates bulletin board material and it inspires a team.
But, I mean, come on, get a better song, bro. Not something from a Hustle and Flow. Talk about whipping prostitutes. Come on, man. Whoop.
What?
Come on, dude.
I'm dead.
Oh well. I tip my hats to Memphis. They've been solid all year, and they deserve it. But the Suns they're gonna stomp them.
They're gonna do it.
They'll probably win in 5.
They're stomp the Grizzlies?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bro. I'm telling you, bro.
It's all matchup. It's all matchups. It's all matchup based. The Suns have the size to match it. The Warriors do not have the size. They're south side.
It's not. As soon as Clay and Curry and Jordan Poole can't miss from threes, they're back in it.
See, that's what everyone's waiting for. They're just not. They're not.
But I mean, that's what you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? You live by the three.
Yeah. But I'm just not. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Of course you don't. You're just pessimistic.
Hey, let's bet. I'll bet Hot Peppers on it. Live stream.
You bet. I like the Grizzlies though, but I don't like. I just think the Warriors are gonna bounce back.
Okay. I beg to differ.
Beg it to differ. Here, what's up, guys? Happy Thursday. It is May 12, 2022. A little bit later than usual. Some scheduling complications. So shout out to you guys for hanging out with us at a different time slot. Live chat was bumping, thumbing before we even got on the air. Bape the Ape, Jason Robinson, Mike Haberman, Sean Drake, Exit, Screaming, Dustin Lauer, Mike Lauer. What up, Chris? Man, who else? I'm missing somebody. What up, Flo? What up, Skimmer? What up, Parker, Kiefer, Ray? I hope you guys are doing all right today. Happy Thursday. We have the B slate, the slate that we don't quite like as much as the glorious Grizzlies, Warriors, and Bucks and Celtics. But yesterday was a good day. It was a good day. And it's one of those awkward days for a guy who is, a Warriors fan, as self-loathing as he is, turns around and makes thousands of dollars off his team sucking. So shout out to Josh.
It helped our whole community. So I'll take the L in pain for the greater cause, man, the greater good.
What a fun sweat yesterday was. Also, a couple big hits here for you. Another day that ends in Y. It looks like the big one here was the $200 Jaylen Brown over 2.5 threes. Tyus Jones over 28 fantasy points. Jaren Jackson Jr. over 33. And then Steven Adams over 9.5 rebounds.
Yeah.
All those were
core plays.
Yeah, we made those on the stream yesterday.
Yes.
So
Yep.
somebody tweeted at me. He's like, you don't actually put those plays on the
Dude,
Discord.
those were like ones we repeated those over and over again live stream. If you were listening to the live stream.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't put us in that box, okay? We as real as it comes. And then we thought Kevin Looney was done, right? He was out of there at four rebounds, and they checked him in like the fourth. Wasn't
and
it?
he had an ice pack on the sideline, man. I was like, oh no.
He checks in, gets a rebound. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
A $1,500 rebound. Shout out to them. So hopefully you guys had some success last night grabbing some of those plays. I think Wiggins was the biggest fault throughout the cards that I had, but man, a lot of
he checked out mentally. He was just, you could tell there's no motivation, and if you have no motivation, you're not going to rebound.
Chat, let me ask you guys this, because Josh doesn't seem to think it. Who wins this series, the Grizzlies or the Warriors? Matter of fact, can I make a poll here? I'm interested. Is the world as self-loathing as old Josh? Because Josh is sitting here telling me, he's swearing to me that it's game over, boys.
It's over, bro.
Stick a fork in them.
It's matchups, man. We know playoffs. It's all about matchups. And when Steven Adams reared his head back in this series and Morant went out, it became a whole new series.
All right, well, we're going to make a poll. I'm going to make a poll. I want to see what the people think. And as we get more people coming through, who wins the Warriors and Memphis series? Warriors, Grizzlies.
And if the Warriors do end up winning, which I want them to, and if they do, I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're not going to get past the Suns, so I mean,
I'll agree with that. I think the Suns are really good, but I still think if there's any team that could be any team, I think a Warriors, when they're locked in, when they have the home crowd energy, when they're not missing threes, that's you can't defend that type of team. I think it's one of those weird situations where I think the Grizzlies might be the most appropriate matchup for the Warriors in terms of having those versatile wing defenders, guard defenders to guard the three. And I don't know that McCall Bridges is a great defender, but I think the Warriors, if they're playing that style of basketball and it's hitting, I think they could shock the Suns. I just think they ran into a Grizzlies team that, without Morant, matches up pretty well defensively. So I don't know. I'm not as pessimistic as you, but hey, man, your team. Sometimes you just understand the pulse and you feel it. But wouldn't it be great if the Grizzlies, without John Morant, won the NBA championship? Because if they beat the Warriors, that's who I'm going. Let's go. He's like, I want to see Paul get a ring too, but man, what a fun story.
I don't want to see Chris Paul get a ring. I don't. I'm not a fan of him, but yeah.
What? It's like the greatest point guard ever.
But his antics, all that baggage he carries with him, I'm not a fan.
Don't miss me with that bull crap, bro. Everybody. Okay. Anyway, we need to talk some basketball. As painful as it is to discuss the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Hey, chat's lit about this series. Just shout out to them, man. Grinding.
Hey, yeah, you guys have been killing it in the free Discord. If you guys are stumbling across this video on YouTube, you're not familiar with our content, our channel, well, two things. Hit that sub button. Two, in the description below, there's a link to get in our free Discord. It's literally 100% free to get in here. All you got to do is bring the right vibes. If you're fake, you're going to get sniffed out and booted pretty quickly. I saw that last night. You guys were hunting down some fakeness.
Is that because he posted the link on Twitter? Have you posted it on Twitter before?
I posted last night I put the Discord link on Twitter. It's the second time I've done it, but
okay, yeah, maybe they fished that guy in.
Maybe. But yeah, if you guys want to be part of that, keep the conversation going. Join the free Discord. A lot of you guys jumped in there today, yesterday. We're grinding towards 1K members, and I think so far so good. It's been really positive, really positive. So, and getting caught up on chat here. What up, AOD? What up, Willie? What up, Eric? A lot of Warriors votes here. The Warriors are slightly winning. There's a lot of people on your side here, but the Warriors are still slight favorites here. So we'll see. The Heat at the 76ers. A 207 total, a 2-point spread in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. This game exists, and it has been the bane of our postseason existence. And yeah, it sucks that this is the B slate. We say it, but we still have to do our due diligence and see if we can uncover some gems here. So let's start things off. And this is must win for Philly, right?
Correct.
All right, so with that in mind, we expect no record, like no one's gonna get benched in the fourth quarter, right? Like, there's no reason to bench these guys if you're down 20, man. You got to go out there and fight, hope for the best. So maybe in that line of thinking, we can have some more solidified expectations when it comes to minutes played for the Philadelphia 76er side. I put 38 minutes on Tobias, on Joel. I've got 40-plus minutes on Maxey and James Harden. I'm getting solid projections. I'm always getting solid projections here, but the Heat come into this game with a pretty strong defense, and both teams play a really slow pace, and we have really not seen two games play the same throughout this whole series. Kyle Lowry listed as out. The rest of the team, per Eric Spoelstra usual, is listed as questionable, but I'm expecting everybody to play. We'll start with the Miami Heat side. When it comes to the Heat, the first name I look at is Jimmy Butler, because I expect him to be at least the most stable guy game to game. He comes into this game with a 5.5 assist prop, a 6.5 free throw prop. Our favorite prop, I think, of the series has been this 1.5 steals prop. He didn't get the over in that last outing, but maybe today's different. 46 fantasy points for him. I slightly have the over, but not by much. It's pretty linear. It kind of reminds me of the Al Horford projection yesterday. And then looking at Bam Adebayo, he's gone all the way down to 16.5 real points. A little bit different when you're not facing DeAndre Jordan. He's at half a block shot, 3 assists, 32 fantasy points. I do have him well above the over of that 32 fantasy point number. Max Strus in the cut, half a steal, 16.5 PRA, 2.5 threes with 20 fantasy points. I last saw Strus, I had him at 24, so I'm slightly on the over. Don't love it. Tyler Hero, everybody needs a hero. 24 fantasy points for him. I have him at 33, so I'm slightly leaning the over, a little bit more than slightly, but it's still Tyler Hero. And then Oladipo on the board, 3 rebounds. I know this was one of those props you liked the other day. It has pushed in the last 2 games. 1.5 turnovers, 11.5 real points. Would be looking for his fantasy line to pop up. It popped up late, that last slate, and it was around 18 fantasy points, I think. Maybe if I'm remembering correctly. 22. All right, cool. Well, 22 is exactly what I have him projected at right now, so I wouldn't be too happy with that. So if I want some action here, I'm thinking Jimmy Butler, and I'm thinking maybe Jimmy Butler assists or fantasy points. And I know chasing his assists all season have been pretty frustrating. 6 and back-to-back. Maybe we just throw a blanket over everything and take the fantasy points. But anything at the end of the day, do you think from the Heat side it's going to be a core play for you? And what's even fringe here? I'm assuming something Jimmy Butler, maybe the 1.5 steals for Jimmy Butler is low enough we take some stabs at that.
Yeah. I mean, that one makes the most sense. And it would be, much less sweat, because all these Heat props are going to be a true sweat. Because I can't call it the game script and game theory. I think that's been our major edge in this playoffs and been profitable, is like we've been able to, when we were able to nail down a game script, it's just like a flood of profitable entries. So I can't call it, man. I sat there last night breaking it down, making the video, and I keep just like I've done all season, staring at the Heat slate and games and just going, I can't call it. I don't know if you have a lean. Do you think the Heat just close him out and put him out, broken Embiid out of his misery, and Harden shows typical playoff elimination? Harden shows up, and actually doesn't show up, but folds and disappears, and then just the Jimmy Butler and crew just put him out of their misery and just move on.
So I don't know about that, but I do think the likelihood of both teams playing 4 quarters increases. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure. I'm not worried about that.
Well,
yeah, it's more about if it's more like do the Heat dominate and put a stronghold on them, and it's just kind of the Sixers kind of just hanging around, but not really, and they
well,
just
but I
fall
mean, like
short.
even if they do dominate, right? Even if they're up 20-25, are they less likely to put guys on the bench in that second half of the
Oh
fourth
no,
quarter,
no, yeah,
right?
I'm not worried about minutes. I'm worried about production because we've seen in this series scores of 90 points or less for a team.
Okay. Yeah, no,
So
that's.
I'm worried about I'm worried about production, I guess. And I mean, and Vegas is too. That it's a 207 implied total.
I mean, Vegas has Philly favored. So, um,
I, yeah. I mean, okay. So if Philly's gonna win, it's obviously gonna be these 3-point shooters, wing shooters like Danny Green and even Maxey and Tobias hitting their threes. But yeah. I don't. Okay. I mean, Jimmy makes the most sense. I think it's game script proof. Like if the Sixers win, Jimmy's probably still gonna be the main guy on the Heat side. So it makes sense to stick with him if you want to go as fantasy or the 1.5 steals I like. And then Strus, I like his 3.5 rebounds with Larry out. I could get with that. He's actually a really good offensive rebounder. He gets a lot of offensive second chance putbacks. And then PJ Tucker, oh man, I can't do it. He's right along the same lines as Jay Crowder for me. And then Depot, I don't know why we don't have a fantasy line. I was expecting it by this point when we opened up the board, but since we don't have it, I guess you could consider his 11.5 points and his 3 rebounds. It's right. Both of those are right on the edge though. And especially being on the road. Yeah, it's tough with that. I mean, I like it, but I'm not gonna say that it was. I was all in on it last game for him at home, in that 22 fantasy points, knowing that he could play 30 plus minutes. But now I'm a little less keen on it.
okay, so I started the notepad off
Yeah.
with Max Strus rebounds, and then do we want to lean on a Butler prop here? Do you like the fantasy points more or the 1.5 steals more?
I mean,
And remember that like he had one steal last game, but he probably leaves 6, 7, 8 minutes on the table in the fourth
yeah,
quarter.
that's true. Yeah, and I say the steals just because the matchup. You got Harden out there, and whenever Harden's out there, yeah, it's live.
All right, cool. Hey, let's do some line shopping here. We're
Yep.
focused on PrizePicks here, but let's go look at our friends at Underdog. If you guys see the Underdog link in chat, they offer similar opportunity to parlay together some player props. They also allow you to up to 20x them. So if you're looking for a way to get different lines and also get a little bit more ROI potential, check out Underdog. Link in the description and link in the chat. They'll also double your first deposit using promo code GUNDACKER. So thinking about some of the Jimmy props here from PrizePicks to Underdog, they have Jimmy at 5.5 assists. Underdog starts him off at 6 assists, so you get a better line on PrizePicks if you like the over there. They didn't give us anything like steals or anything like that. They do have him at 25.5 real points versus 24.5 on PrizePicks. Bam Adebayo is at 8 rebounds on Underdog. He is at 7.5 on PrizePicks, and then PJ Tucker's at half a steal on Underdog, and that's always interesting for a guy that can maybe get the positive side of a deflection. But I'm not seeing any egregious differences. If you I guess if we're interested in some fantasy lines for a guy like Oladipo coming up, they have him at 17.5 PRA, which is something that is not on the board for PrizePicks at the moment. So maybe that'll be an indication of what we might be able to project the fantasy line at. And I think 22 is kind of the line that I would expect. So 11.5 real points, 3 rebounds. I guess there's some assists in there to get him to 17.5, and that's linear with underdog. So no stark contrast that I want to take advantage of in the Heat side, but just something that should be part of your process is to compare the different teams as we go game by game. And now let's dip into Philadelphia's side.
Wait. What? Sorry, one quick thing. Depot, maybe we can get on his 1.5 turnovers.
Okay.
Just because if he plays 30+ minutes, and a lot of the times, a lot of minutes, if he's out there without Jimmy, he's going to be the ball handler, and primary ball handlers playing that many minutes, more chance for turning it over.
You think 30+ minutes is a possibility? I don't think that's.
I think he's starting to outgain some hero minutes lately.
I mean, maybe
just because of
30
matchup.
though, that's a little aggressive. 30?
I mean, yeah, he played 32 the other game.
2 games back, did close that game out, so I guess there's a case that he could close, but he closed in lieu of PJ Tucker. Not sure if there's some underlying causes there. Lowry played that game where he played 32 minutes. I don't know, man. I guess it's predictably unpredictable.
I mean, yeah, it's Spoelstra. He changes it up all the time. But I will say that on this season he averaged 2 turnovers a game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a line that's below his season average, which is pretty rare for a turnover prop. It's usually like right on the line. And then the year before that he averaged 3.5 turnovers. So he's not immune to turning the ball over if you want a low line.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to sweat that. I just don't know what to expect minute-wise, but maybe if someone will keep an eye on, maybe they'll show their hand. Maybe we get some of these Q tags actually turning into O's, and then we'll change our approach here. But let's switch over to the Philadelphia side. Josh, I'm not going home tonight, Josh. Jimmy Butler, he's never played against a motivated Glenn Rivers. I don't know, man. Joel Embiid, 37.5 PRA on the board for him. 3 turnovers. That was something we liked in that last game. And remember, the game completely got away. Embiid barely touched the court in the fourth quarter. Maybe leaves 5, 6, 7 minutes on the table. I do think if Embiid is... if we're playing the game script with the Sixers, do not get benched because it's a do or die, and you got nothing to lose, might as well be out there mindset. I think Embiid's more likely to be out there for 38 to 40 minutes, which gives us a little bit more opportunity for the Adebayo, the Tucker, the scrappy guys, even Jimmy Butler, to pickpocket him a little bit. So 3 turnovers is something I think I would nominate for our list to sweat. I also have Joel Embiid right now projected for 58 fantasy points in a game where they're projected to win at home. I think that's a little aggressive. The algorithm is based on DFS ceiling, but it's still well above the 40 that we're getting on PrizePicks. And then over on Underdog, we're getting half a 3 for Embiid. We're getting 2.5 assists for Embiid and 25.5 real points. We don't get a fantasy line, but the 39.5 PRA is probably the closest thing we could compare it to. And that's 2 PRA higher than what Embiid is listed at on PrizePicks. So if you like Embiid to have a big game today, you're getting some softer lines on PrizePicks. So maybe we think about and mull over some Embiid stuff, and it also kind of game script. If this game stays close, if the Sixers play the solid basketball that is successful for them, what does that mean? Well, that means Embiid. It means free throws for Embiid and Harden, and those 3-point shooters, the Maxey, the Danny Greens, are actually hidden. So maybe it would make sense for some of those assist props for Joel Embiid at 2.5, 3 passes in 40 minutes that end up in a bucket. Not a crazy thought process. So a couple of lines that I think low. I think these are lower Embiid lines than I expected. So maybe you could sell me on some overs. James Harden, we don't know what Harden, what version of him shows up today. The bad Harden has been the more consistent version when it comes to making an appearance. With that said, he opens up at 38 fantasy points. I don't know that I've ever seen James Harden open up so low, and the algorithm still loves high usage James Harden to hit the over. So I'd slightly lean that. But also, like I said, the free throws might come into play.
Yep.
6.5 is a really low line for him. The turnovers might come into play going against that good defense of the Heat, and there's really no quarters off as long as he's not opposite Tyler Hero, whether it be a Butler, a Depot, a Vincent, guys like Adebayo in the paint. There's plenty of turnover opportunity here for James Harden, and then Harden is also listed at 6 rebounds, and that was something that you mentioned this morning might be worth looking at. A couple more long rebound attempts here. I hate to target guard rebounds generally, but even more so in a slow pace game, right? Because there's less possessions, less rebound opportunities. So I don't want to get too enthralled with too much of the wing and guard rebounds, but it is something to think about. But I just think, man, we're getting a really low line on Harden fantasy points here. We're also looking at Tobias Harris on the board at 28 fantasy points. I mean, these are probably some of the lowest Sixers overall numbers as far as prop lines that we've seen in a while. So if you're believing that today they win this game, the 2-point spread in their favor at home, I think there's some opportunity here where, if you had to start prioritizing clicks here, where do you start and where do you say, nah, I don't care, I'm just not going to let that be on my card today? Like Danny Green, for instance, he seems to be the apple of a lot of eyes in some of the group chats I've seen because he can get hot from 3, but he can also play 24 minutes and go 1 for 9. So guys like that, I think, can play elsewhere, and I'll try to make my money from the second half game or some of these more high usage guys. I think I'm going to focus on a must-win Embiid at 40 fantasy points. So all right, I did enough rambling. Where's the mad scientist at on the Sixers board?
I know my thought process is right there with you. I think were spot on. I mean, yeah, I mean the heart wants the Embiid, right? Like just the normal beat of this entire season, the MVP candidate Embiid. But he's not that guy, man. He's broken for sure. He's on his last leg. I feel like he's just like hanging on by a thread out there. Every time you see him go up for a rebound or a drive to the basket. And he took a pretty hard shot to the face that last game, man. I was like, man, is he just gonna call it quits? Because that had to be really painful. So kudos to him, man. He's a warrior for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think the free throws was something that I kind of like leaned on early on last night, just out of game script or theory that he if a shot's not falling and if a guy who's really struggling, they're just gonna try to get to the line, and Embiid has done that all season long and it's been his forte. So being at home, an elimination game, refs might get the call a little bit more, want to push that 7-game series. I could get on that, and then Harden 6.5 free throws. I mean, just the other day you were all over that when that line was down to 6.5, and we get it again there. It's usually 7.5. Being at home again, a guy who, if his shot's not falling, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to put his head down, try to get to the drive to basket and draw those fouls. So I mean, I like both those free throw props. I wouldn't play them in the same line, although they have cleared it together before in the past, but just the odds are less likely. So maybe in a card I'll do one Embiid free throw line, and then in another card I'll do a Harden free throw line. But yeah, the assist one makes sense. Since he will kick it out from the high post to the wings, including guys like Yang and Danny Green, and hopefully they shoot better at home today. And Tobias, his fantasy is pretty low, so I could maybe consider that. It's more of a mid tier for me. He's definitely taken a dip since Embiid has came back. His production, because he was leading the team when Embiid was out. But maybe his 2.5 assists. I know he didn't have any assists last game, but he does get involved with playmaking and feeds the ball to Embiid a lot. So that could be something to consider. But yeah, I'm probably just gonna stick with the free throws and those low assist lines, and that's about it. That just shows my confidence on the Sixers. I kind of feel like this game and playing these Sixers guys is kind of like, remember as a kid when you had like a juice box or a Capri Sun, and you're like down to that last little sip, and you're sitting there trying to squeeze something out at the end, man. Like that's that's how I feel about trying to squeeze props out of this game and these players, especially like the Sixers, because you have Embiid who's just not the same and broken, and you have Harden who's just completely fading away. So
if the Sixers came out and kept this game competitive, do you think they set the tone early? And if they did, do you think that means maybe we look for them to have a better first half? Set the scoring early. With that said, 9.5 James Harden points. He has eclipsed that, even if it's by the hook, in every game in the series so far.
Yeah.
So maybe something to look at. Joel Embiid, 12.5 real points. He has not been as rock steady on that line. However, like you said, if this game's going to be competitive, the Sixers are going to win this game, try to take this game and keep it a series. Joel Embiid has to be part of the game plan here. But I think this Harden first half stuff, and I think this is something we talked about in the Raptors series, right? Where the first half Harden was somewhat productive. Wasn't there a game where he had 36 fantasy points in the first half in the Raptors, and then didn't hit his game over of like 45? We're like, how did he even do that?
Yeah, I just think he just gets gassed. I think that hamstring's not holding up, and I think it's just conditioning. So I'm totally with you. It makes sense. That's a first half prop that there's some reasoning behind it, and especially and both of them are not. Both of them struggled towards the end of the game because of conditioning reasons. So.
Right, and then as if they go to halftime, and it's a competitive game or something like that, Spoelstra will make some adjustments, and then maybe they're more likely to suffer the second half. So I'll nominate. I'll just write first half Harden ? Okay. And that's
do you like that more than 6.5 free throws? Because let's say if this is a close game to the end and they're gonna win by 3 points or less, like Vegas thinks, he's gonna take those last free throws too for icing, right?
Right. 6.5 is so goddamn low for James Harden.
It is, right?
It's so low. I probably
in a playoff must-win game.
Mm-hmm.
His shot doesn't need to be falling for that either. He just has to get to the line. I don't know.
I don't think I like it more, but I do think I would kind of diversify the portfolio a little bit.
Okay.
So I'll put full game free throws. First half Harden. The other one was points or fantasy points first half, because he's eclipsed fantasy points pretty much every game. There was one game he didn't, and then he's hit real points, even though the last one was by a hook. So maybe we'll kind of teeter totter between those two. Real points seems easier to sweat, and it's also the real points wouldn't be negatively correlated with our free throw prop either if we did have separate cards out there floating, because he could get free throws in the first half. So
wait, so we can't decide? Are you on the fence?
As far as like prioritizing Harden props?
No, like the points for the first half props.
Well, oh no. Okay, so what I was saying is the first half, he's hit his real point first half prop every game this series, even though last game was a hook, and then he's all but hit his fantasy points in his fantasy point prop line based on the number right now in every game but one. So I guess the question was, would you prefer fantasy points or real points? First half?
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that. Is that I thought they just did like fantasy points first half. I guess they did.
They started introducing
17.5. I guess that would negate the turnovers because he'll turn the ball over, and he's been crushing it. I like that call, old neuroscientist. You, all right, let's do that. Yeah, let's take this thing out of the turnovers, points and PRA. But PRA looks like a good blanket to throw over it.
Yeah, he's gonna run into some rebounds and he'll get assists. So.
All right, bet. And then taking a look at Underdog, they have Harden at 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 1.5 block steals, 4.5 turnovers. I like that line. I think Harden's definitely live to turn the ball over quite a bit. Hello, my love.
Sure.
20.5 real points. They don't give us fantasy points, and it looks like they're adjusting the 36.5 PRA full game. So that would be somewhat linear with PrizePicks. I think PrizePicks gives us a little softer landing on Harden. Thank you. Harden is at 34.5 PRA. So that's 2 PRA difference between PrizePicks to underdog. All right, so working on this list, I'll put first half Harden points or PRA, and then
Sure.
James Harden full game free throws. I like that.
Yep. And then what's our favorite Embiid prop? Because I feel like I'm gonna have a card with Embiid. I got to go down firing with him. At least one card.
I think it's fantasy points. Throw a blanket over it. I'm worried about like 5 turnovers, even 6 turnovers. But I think the 40 minutes of Embiid is possible, and 40 minutes of Embiid is over 40 fantasy points, right? Like it's even if it's like 36, 37, but like I think this is do or die unless the game's completely out of reach and they're projected to win. I just got to take a shot here. I don't. There's not many teams I expect to hold Embiid to less than a fantasy point per minute, so I think it's the fantasy point for me.
Okay.
And it's one of those broken algorithm nights, right? Where my projection's so far over the 40. So I'm gonna go fantasy
I guess.
points.
I mean, if we're gonna go down with Embiid, might as well go down with his fantasy. Just go all in. Fantasy, you're going all in.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I would nominate number 2 would be his turnovers, and then number 3 would be his assist.
Yeah, I think the assist prop on PrizePicks is very, very low at 2.5. Couple positive passes go his way. I mean, we're still dealing with variance, and I don't know that. I don't know that I need to go elsewhere other than a fantasy points and whatnot. But I do think 2.5 is just really low for a guy that's gonna have this type of usage. 38 to 40 minutes is kind of my expectation. So the ball's going to be in his hand long enough, and they'll crash him. They'll trap him in the glass, and if they collapse on him, he passed the ball to a maxi or something on the wing a couple times and splashes. I'm with it. So I would have some interest in the 2.5 assists.
Yeah, and we went back and looked at it last night, and he leaves like about 7 to 9 potential assists on the board. Just guys are not making those 3-point shots, but you got to think being back at home in elimination game, hopefully they fall.
I concur. I concur.
Do you if you had to pick between the two, would you lean turnovers or assists more for secondary prop form?
I'm thinking. Oh man, I want to say turnovers just because you got the great
Force
defense
an
of the
issue.
Heat, the Adebayo, the Tuckers, and
Okay.
I think you would have hit. It just feels like a push at worst. Like you got to pitch a good game for Joel Embiid against that defense to not have over 3 turnovers, and that's something we saw in the 2 games, 2 out of 3 games prior. Remember that last game, he left a lot of the fourth quarter on the table. It probably probably ends up hitting, at least pushing that line. So probably the turnovers, but we're splitting hairs. It's closer to a coin flip.
Okay.
And then what is the MB lines over here? They have 2.5 assists as well. So, all right. Are you that enthralled with these tertiary supplementary guys, Tobias Harris, Danny Green? I think Tobias Harris, you mentioned this morning, he's the X factor. I think if the Sixers get blown out, it's because he didn't do his thing, or if they fight and they scrap, it's because Tobias Harris was able to pick it up. But I don't have like a crazy projection that's a stark contrast to what they're offering. I have a 28, or they have 28 fantasy points as his projection. I'm at 34, which, like I said, my algorithm is based for DFS ceiling. It usually 6 is where I start going, okay, I kind of lean the over here. But like we said, it's minutes. There's no reason to not play all that you can play in a must-win game. So these are kind of low lines compared to what we have been offered throughout the series. And whenever guys that are going to play 35 to 40 minutes are on the table and their fantasy point projection is lower than their minutes played, well, then I don't need you to be a point per minute. And that's kind of the case here with Tobias Harris on PrizePicks, where I got him at a 38-minute projection. They got him at 28 fantasy points, bro. That's like, 0.85 fantasy point per minute or something like that. Can you do it? And it's been way easier said than done in the last 2 games. But I know it's not impossible. Either which way, whether it be a Tobias Harris or a maxi prop or something like that, I don't think any of these guys end up being core plays or warm and fuzzies. But there's some fringe interest in some of these Toby props.
Yeah.
Do you have a lean?
No, I'm with you. I think the fantasy makes sense. I mean, we've seen it get up to like 32, and now it's down to 28. And he's a guy. I mean, he could pick up stocks in a flurry, especially being aggressive in a elimination game. So I like it. And then, I mean, if you want to sweat lower props for him, I think you could consider, like I said, the assist prop. He had a lot of assist potentials left on the board last game, and he didn't have. That's why he finished with 0. And also the 1.5 threes. If Harden's three is struggling and Danny Green's struggling, he's gonna chuck it maybe 4 to 6 times from 3 tonight at home. So you just want him, shoot 40 to 50%, and that's it.
EB, shout out to EB in the chat. He says, "You're gun. I know it's an NBA stream. Just here to thumbs up and see if you release an MLB bomb detector." So I did forget to tweet it out. I don't think I have the wherewithal to do this on the stream. I guess I do, but just to let you know, the guys that the bomb detector likes: Reese Hoskins, in terms of sample size, Reese Hoskins, Salvador Perez, Aaron Judge, Joey Gallo, Nick Castellanos, and then all these other high ratings are based on less than 20 innings, sometimes less than 7 innings of sample size. So those are the main culprits in the bomb detector on tonight's short baseball slate. I do like the White Sox for some stolen base potential against a high walk pitcher. I did do the MLB Live before lock on Osmo, so if you're looking for some of my baseball thoughts, that video is on demand right now. You can catch that. All right, cool. So working on this list here, I'm just gonna leave fantasy points. I don't think I'm gonna add the tertiary guys to our short list here. We'll add it to the
no
fringe
Danny Green
list.
for you. You know, put your green on green.
Not happening. Not even if there's a fire. Not gonna be able to do it. I got
Hey, shout out to you to MLB, man. You're on a hot streak, dude. Some solid calls. I think all your props hit, right? That you suggested yesterday?
Literally 100% of the props hit
That's
yesterday.
awesome, dude.
That'll never happen again ever. But
Hey,
it was a solid night.
Take the credit when you can, man. That was solid.
Yeah, as far as the $25 risk-free bet, everyone who had a chance to get some action on that, you made some money. So I'm glad to see that.
And your prop detector has been hitting too, big time. So
bomb detector, not prop detector, sir. Sir, if you're gonna copy the bomb detector, at least respect it when you reference it.
I said bomb detector.
You said prop detector.
I did.
You did.
Oh.
This tea is really good. Really good. Jason says, "Do you like Depot first half points?" So last game, and this is the 1-to-1, right? No Kyle Lowry. Victor Oladipo played the entire second quarter, and what we know about the Heat is there's no consistency. With that said, do we have any Depot first quarter props? Because I wonder if you know what I mean. If Depot, they have 5.5 points in the first half. Oh, I almost just had a heart attack. Oladipo first quarter,
because he checked
nothing.
in for 5 seconds.
Yeah. No first quarter props on Oladipo. Okay, cool. But I don't trust the Heat rotation because I do think it's on the fly adjustment. So first half, yes. So I don't have a special reason to be in on Depot, splitting them down. If I want to take shots on Depot, I just want to throw a blanket on the full game. I think there's a strong chance in a close game, Depot would close. Good two-way guard over maybe like a hero. So yeah. Pair Embiid turnovers with Jimmy steals. That's great positive correlation, KC. Sixers blowout, forced Game 7 just like yesterday's game. You think the Sixers blow out the Heat? It's not impossible. The Heat have certainly disappeared in some key spots this season. I mean, blowout. I hope we don't have more blowouts today for the NBA's sake. The product was really rough at the end of the day yesterday. What up, Nate? Have a card fading Harden fantasy points. Just my feeling. I don't blame you. He's been really, really hard to trust. All right, second game on the slate. Phoenix Suns at the Dallas Mavericks. Want to remind you guys, if you want some action on some of these picks, be sure you're checking out these links. I'll post them in chat. Get double your first deposit on both on PrizePicks and Underdog. And like we said, we're line shopping between the two sites. So make sure you're getting action on the best line available. And if you want to stretch that bankroll a little bit more, if you're on one side and haven't been on the other, vice versa, you'll get that first deposit bonus. So if you just throw $20, $30 at one of them, they'll instantly double it. No slow drip, none of that playthrough nonsense, and you can get to work right away. Yeah, all right. I got some baseball tags going at me. All right, so let's move on to the second game, the main event of this slate. The Phoenix Suns at the Dallas Mavericks. This is another back against the wall spot, right? Let me ask, first of all, game script here. This has been like the story of the home team so far, right?
Yeah. The other series too. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah. 2-point spread here in favor of the visiting Phoenix Suns. We've got the board opening up at Devin Booker, 27.5 real points, 4.5 assists. There's some bad blood spewing and brewing between Booker and Luka.
Have you seen all this stuff? There's multiple clips.
I've seen a few of them, and Luka has some choice words for Devin Booker.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like it in a playoff battle series. So, did you the biggest one? Do you have that clip?
I don't have it at hand. It was the one where Luka called him the P word.
Well, Devin Booker went to the ground and he like.
He said I saw that.
And he was like laying down like this, and then he looks up and smiles at the crowd and then smiles at the camera and he says, "Luka special." It's childish, but it is. It was just taking a stab at him when he could. But yeah, that's even more incentive fuel for Luka, right? He needs any more.
I saw a quote on Twitter. Some guys, he said, I really need Devin Booker to get humbled because he was an 18-win guard before Chris Paul showed up.
Yeah,
and I was like, he's got a point.
People don't like him right now, man. He's acting way too cocky for not really accomplishing much.
I just think that type of attitude you gotta have. I think that's that's an it factor that the T-Wolves had to an extent. The Grizzlies have. They'll, if the world hates us, they hates us. And I think with Chris Paul, that's how he's played his whole career. Is anything, whatever it takes to win. Yeah. So I don't hate him for doing it. And Kobe had it too, right? People hated Kobe for the longest. So,
but he didn't do stuff like that though. Like,
the flop stuff's a little different, but
and then laughing about it on the ground and smirking.
Okay. All right. Anyway, let's do the prop board for Devin Booker: 27.5 points, 4.5 assists, 3 threes, 2.5 turnovers, 5 free throws, 4 fantasy points, and a partridge and a pear tree for Devin Booker. We got a lot of props on Devin Booker. There's 8 of them to get some action on. That's crazy. Chris Paul, 14.5 real points, 8.5 assists, 2 turnovers for Chris Paul, 2.5 free throws made, 36 fantasy points. Our boy DeAndre Ayton, man, one of these days, Alice, it's gonna come through. Whether it be JaVale McGee or Bismack Biyombo, it has been a struggle bus ride, but he's at 17.5 points, 10 rebounds, half a block shot, 32 fantasy points. Our boy Mikal Bridges, we've been getting action on him really all season, and they just never really adjust his line. PRA and fantasy points, I preached it earlier, when you're playing exponentially more minutes than fantasy points or PRA, I'm interested because you just got to be out there. You might accidentally grab rebounds and points, and they have him at 20.5 real points, 20.5 PRA, and that's something he's eclipsed in all but one game this series, and that was that foul game, I think, where a lot of weird stuff happened. And the same with fantasy points. And fantasy points is live for him as well because he's such a defensive juggernaut that a couple steals, that's +3, +6, +9. I think Mikal Bridges is once again going to be one of my get-me-over fastballs to fill out some cards here. Jay Crowder, no thank you, but I'm willing to hear you guys chat. If you're going back to the well with Crowder, I understand he had a little pop socket issue that last game. I don't think you're going to see me in the streets with Landry Shamet and Cameron Johnson exposure, but... where are you starting with? I think Devin Booker is probably the most polarizing decision to make here. He's essentially been like the usage guy for them game to game. Do you want to get some stake on him to start this one off?
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm gonna get like some action, if I wanted to like do some game stack theory where it's like a shootout back and forth and then close game to the end, and I want to, I want action on Luka, especially his like points. It would make sense to go with D-Book's 27.5 points, because I mean he's shown when the Suns are thriving and the offense is going full force, it's because of him. So yeah, I mean you could pair those two, but I know we don't like guard rebounds, but we've seen in this series the Mavs are gonna take so many threes, 40 plus threes a game, especially at home, and a lot of those threes lead to long rebounds that go to the perimeter guys. So Booker and Chris Paul have been really thriving on those rebounds. And with that said, I really liked last night when I was doing my research. I liked Aiton's 10.5 rebound under. Now they moved it down to 10. So it kind of sucks because I kind of had them projected right at like probably 10 rebounds tonight, 9 or 10. And being at 10.5, you would have still clear, but now it's probably going to be a push. But I kind of like the game stack of like pairing Aiton's under rebounds with either Chris Paul's rebound over or D-Book's rebound over. Because I think the Mavs are going to chuck it from 3, especially if they're trailing at all during this game. So yeah, those are probably in their low lines. Those are probably ones I were most interested in besides their turnover props. So both of them on the season average around 2.5 turnovers. And it's just going to be naturally what comes with them being the ball handlers, the primary ball handlers of the team. And Dallas defense plays so much better at home, so they're going to be more scrappy. They're going to be playing with more energy. Get some deflections in there, cause a little more turnovers, draw some offensive fouls, taking those charges in desperate times. So I get it. Taking the turnover props for both D-Book and Chris Paul. So those are probably the ones I'm most interested in for the Suns side. Going with those low lines for both D-Book and Chris Paul, both the turnovers and the rebounds. And then Ayton, I'm done chasing his points, man. It takes about 10 years off your life of stress. It's a huge sweat, and yeah, his minutes are not safe with Biyombo and McGee in the wing. But yeah, and then Bridges and Jay Crowder, I like them better at home. Both these teams have shown they're just completely different animals when they're on the road versus home. So when I load up on those guys, I tend to do that when they're in home games. So I'm probably just going to lean with those initial Chris Paul and D-Book props.
You don't want any McCall Bridges?
I would say he's 1.5 block steal.
That's what I was. Yeah, okay. I was typing that up now. But yeah, I think all of his stuff is like just because of the minutes played. But all right, so let's prioritize here a short list. Chris Paul, and then Devin Booker. If we had to grab one prop from each. By the way, looking at the series so far, Chris Paul has raised his assist rate to 29%. There was that huge assist game out of Booker to start things off, but Booker's still sustaining that 31% usage. So I think long term, that's kind of my idea. Is I expect Paul to be a little bit more of a facilitator and Devin Booker to be a little bit more of a scorer. So would you want to pair Paul's assists with Devin Booker real points, or do you just want to go turnovers here as the priority?
I mean, the assist definitely makes sense. I would be all over it if it was at home because, like I said, these other guys shoot so much better at home, and it's been the tale of this series, the home road splits. But I mean, anything can change, and we could see that these guys play better on the road today and close it out. So, yeah, I think last game Chris Paul had about 17 in potential assists out of.
Do we have a Scott Foster report? Do we know who's going to ref this one?
Yeah, he is not reffing, and I'm interested. If they throw Scott Foster at Chris Paul Game 7, oh man,
bro, that would be sweet.
The Suns fans would be so lit.
Okay, all right. So I
would rank. I don't for Chris Paul. I mean, what do you think? I would rank 2 turnovers as probably
it's pretty
top
low
target for him.
Yeah, that's pretty low. All right, so. I'll go 2 turnovers on Paul.
And then 8.5 assists.
8.5 assists, yes. 8.5 assists. And then anything particularly on Devin Booker that you want to target? Sticking if they are, so right now they're favored. Man, he's not even get to the free throw like that. But I was thinking they are slight favorites here, so we might play the late foul game here. And if Booker got the ball in his hand and we're getting trying to get those possessions back, maybe the 5 free throws. But I don't feel as confident in that one. So I guess I would lean either real points or fantasy points for Devin Booker, but I would like to isolate this down and find a better line to sweat. You could. Looks like the likeliest outcome on this 3-point prop is a push. Looking at his shot volume this series, though, he has shot 7, 6, 6, 8, and 5 threes. So maybe we'd like a little bit more volume to take a shot at him to, at this point, we got to get 40-50% hit success rate and, shoot on the road against a Mavs D that their strength is limiting threes. So maybe, I don't know, man. Each one of these Devin Booker props is I'm so on the fence with. I probably
just fantasy because when we're unsure, just go with fantasy.
Throw a blank. Fantasy or real points? I'll put fantasy, but I wouldn't hate a real point.
I would say fantasy, then turnovers, and then rebound.
Underdog has Booker at 27.5 points as well, so that's linear with PrizePicks. They have him at 2.5 threes. Now that I do like, right? PrizePicks is at 3 threes, but Underdog's at 2.5 threes. So I probably take some stake at the over at 2.5 threes. But I do think the volume is still there. They also have Chris Paul at 9 assists, so you're getting a softer line on PrizePicks. They also have Devin Booker at 2.5 turnovers, and they have Chris Paul at 2 turnovers, the same as PrizePicks. So you could bet that linear site to site. Ayton's at half a block, 10.5 rebounds, whereas are we getting 10.5 on Ayton? We're getting 10. So
yeah, it was 10.5 last night, and I entered a card with it on that 10.5, and now it's at 10.
Oh, you sweating to push now? Let's go. All right. All right, so my list is going to be Paul 2 turnovers, 8.5 assists, Devin Booker fantasy points, or real points, and then Bridges 20.5 PRA, 1.5 block steals, or fantasy points. I don't want to put any stake on Ayton tonight.
You don't want to go under on his rebounds? I liked it better when it was 10.5. I must say that.
Well, if you like 10.5, it's still 10.5 on Underdog.
Yeah, I like that. I really do. Just like the minutes, and he's been getting into foul trouble, and if Luka's attacking the paint aggressively tonight, he's gonna pick up some fouls, and just Biyombo getting more minutes, and he's just not rebounding.
You're also getting a hook. Let me do math in my head real quick. The Underdog has 17.5 real points, 10.5 rebounds. So that's 28, 20, 29. That's 28. So you're getting a hook on the PR. You could bet points and rebounds. Does that make sense to you? 17.5 points, 10.5 rebounds. So 10.5 plus 17.5 is 28, right? Yeah, 28. And then you can put them together and get a hook. So if you really like him to be a non-factor, especially on the rebounds, you might get some value in that extra hook at 28.5. Okay. Let's move over to the Mavericks side. But also, no, I don't have any warm fuzzies on my Ayton call. So, moving over to the because freaking Bismack Biyombo all of a sudden, right? Like he's earned some keep here, and if they're just trying to win a game here and go home, I think you might see that. And the game script is so unpredictable for this whole slate. But anyway, going to the Mavericks side, kind of how we felt with Joel Embiid, right? If the 76ers are going to back against the wall, fight, stay in it, Joel Embiid is a big part. If the Mavericks win this game, as Luka Doncic did a little bit of everything, and he's opening up at 55 fantasy points. My projection on Luka right now is 64, so I am getting nearly a 10-point gap. They give him some lower lines, 31.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, 8 assists, 3.5 threes, 4.5 turnovers, which you could justify him having to do too much, right? Quotations on too much, and trying to force stuff when it's not there. So maybe there is some merit in grabbing that turnover prop. And they also have him at 6 free throws. And I think if Luka took 30 shots tonight, you're not surprised, right? So if he converts a couple of those shot attempts into fouls, there's really justification on everything Luka on this board. So I'm curious to see where you want to start. I'm still there on Dorian Finney-Smith. Him and Mikal
Oh yeah.
Bridges are really, really similar plays to me throughout this postseason, where DFS is just implied for so many minutes. I know he played 36 in that last game, but in games that stay competitive, he's going to get 42 minutes. And as long as he's not in foul trouble, and there was that one foul trouble game, but I don't think we can bank on that. So I think if you're going to get 42 minutes, I think I need less than a peripheral per minute and less than a fantasy point per minute, way less, almost half a fantasy point per minute. So I think I'm going to nominate Dorian Finney-Smith fantasy points in PRA again. And then Reggie Bullock, these home role players, like you say, his 2 threes, I think are something that we'd probably be interested in. But start from the top here. What is the Luka prop we want if we want this game script to live up to Dallas keeping this competitive? With that, remember they are underdogs at home.
Yeah. No, this is Luka time, man. We saw this. What was it last year in the Clippers series? I believe that series went 7 games. And Game 7, Luka just went Luka. I mean, he went off. I remember that game. I think like him and Kawhi Leonard just went at each other. And let me look this up so I'm really accurate for you. Okay, yeah, he had 46 points, 7 rebounds, 14 assists. I I think it's gonna be Luka takeover time again. I think he's gonna push near triple dub and fill the stat line. So I'm just gonna lean fantasy. Points make complete sense too. And if the Mavs are gonna keep this close and they're gonna win this game, he is gonna have to play make too, and those guys are gonna have to hit their shots. So his assist prop should hit as well. If you're going with the game theory that the Mavs win, and don't get blown out or get closed out. So if you want to sweat a smaller single line, I get it for the assist. But I'm just gonna throw a blanket on everything and just go with the fantasy because I think, yeah, he's just gonna take over. And these secondary guys, yeah, I mean they play like we said all series long. They play so much better at home. They're gonna go all out, and guys like Finney play with a lot of energy and heart. And I like targeting guys like that in elimination games. So I want to target guys with heart. And that's why I like targeting Memphis last night. Teams that play with heart, especially when their backs are against the wall. And so I'm kind of leaning his 4.5 rebounds. I think with guys who are in desperation mode and playing with that amount of energy, they're gonna crash the glass harder, out rebound you, out hustle the other team. They're gonna come out aggressive. So I'm probably gonna go for those like aggressive hustle stat lines, and so yeah, Finney's 4.5 rebounds, and then secondary for him would be his 2 threes because his 3-point shooting is gonna be needed today. And he, as we saw in this series, he shot a lot better from 3 at home. I think he even one game he had 8 threes made. So yeah, and then in Reggie, he's always live for his 3-point shooting. I imagine he's not gonna go 0 points like he did last game in Phoenix. So yeah, you can go with his two 3-point made as well. And do we have any maxi props yet? I haven't even looked for his. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
so his 3-point props. I think you could consider his rebounds too. He's been cleaning the glass. Is it still at 5.5? Okay, cool. Yeah, you could still consider his rebound prop. He's going to be needed to help out on the glass and fight for those offensive second chance putbacks. And his 9 points are live too. Because yeah, if he gets those rebounds and second chance putbacks along with his 3-point shooting, he could get there. And then Brunson's the wild card, man. He's kind of like Tobias of the Sixers, and in the sense that he's gonna be needed and he's the X factor. And he's just hard to call. He's been so up and down in this series. He did play a lot better at home as well. But yeah, they definitely need him. But the only concern is if Luka goes Luka mode and hero ball and he ball hogs and he takes 30 plus shots, Brunson's gonna lose out on that scoring potential. Um, but yeah, they need his scoring though. And maybe he could feed off of Luka. It's just it's risky in that sense that Luka just takes over. And the Suns want Luka to play hero ISO ball. They want that. They made that clear in their scheme, in post game conferences. They like that because he exerts so much energy and it reduces the amount of threes made. So the Suns are really focusing on clogging those passing lanes and stopping those wing threes. So that's been their main focus. So yeah, I mean, I think it just increases the odds that Luka goes even more hero ball. So that I want to click on the 19.5 points for Brunson just because of game script and how I think Kid is going to try to get him involved and they need him. But yeah, it's just risky with Luka. But maybe his 3 free throws because he will be aggressive and attack the paint and being at home, getting those favorable calls like we already said for the Sixers game being elimination game. Maybe I could get on the 3 free throws made.
Yeah, I think Jalen Brunson real points when I was kind of mapping this out. I figured that would be my number 2 behind Luka Doncic's fantasy points.
Are you worried? Are you just worried about Luka?
I think if Luka goes off, I don't think he can win the game by himself. I think he's gonna have to have one guy.
I agree, but he'll try.
That's been his handcuffed really throughout that most of the series, and then there's still that second quarter gap that has been there where Brunson gets a little bit of no Doncic here. So I think no matter what, like 17 to 20 shot attempts for Brunson is kind of the expectation for me here.
Okay.
So I'm leaning the over on 19.5 real points. You definitely make a good case with the free throws being there. Maybe even the fantasy points being there because they can run some sets where Brunson does a little bit of the ball handling as well. It's been kind of an every other game this whole series. One team wins, one team fouls or doesn't show up. And if we think this is back against the wall, do or die, you got to win. You got to have your best version of Brunson and Luka. And I think that backcourt has to have all the synergy that they could possibly have. And I think Doncic will establish early, whether it be that he can score early or that he can, get off me. I'm going to use my shooters early, and I think Brunson has to be that second hand or that right hand man, so to speak, for him today. So I'm thinking Brunson real points or fantasy points. They got him at 29 fantasy points. I have him at 38. So I'm getting almost a 10-point gap, and that will kind of grab me some pieces of rebounds and stuff like that. So it's only 10 more, really 10 more fantasy points than real points, and there's gonna be a couple of loose peripherals, assists and stuff like that, maybe even a steal or two. So maybe I'll do real points or fantasy points on top of. I got Luka fantasy points on my list here. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, do we want to go PRA or fantasy points? Probably fantasy points is basically implied at PRA.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean, he's going to hustle, and the fantasy will incorporate all those hustle stats.
All right, cool.
And then Dinwiddie, I know he was kind of phased out last game and had a bad game, but he's another guy. If they're gonna win, they need him big time.
Do they though?
They do. I mean, he's been the big reason why they made that push at the end of the season.
Yeah, but that was a lot of Luka injured, right?
Sure.
Like I don't know that that's the case. If Dinwiddie played 18 or less minutes today, I'm not surprised.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you think that, I mean, it might be risky to go with them. Yeah. Okay, and I guess one last thing is like Discord group I saw this morning. You're kind of hinting at this along the lines that Luka comes out aggressive early on and gets the rhythm going. And he, we've seen this series since the Suns attack him so much to try to wear him down that he gets gassed by like the end of third and fourth quarter, and that's why the Mavs have struggled scoring in those later quarters. And actually, they've been getting destroyed in the fourth quarter, point differential wise.
So you're thinking first half Luka?
Yeah, that's kind of like a game theory that the group, the crew came up with, and I get it. It makes sense. It was kind of going with either his fantasy or his PRA, just because Yeah, this series, all series long, he's been getting just totally burnt out by the third and fourth quarter.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting a great deal on any of his first half lines. I will say that it looks like every game this series, Luke has played the entire first quarter.
Yes, he does.
So I don't know how they do their first quarter projections. If it's just like the full game divided by 4, or they have something like that. But they list his first quarter real point prop. That's the only prop we have at 9. And looking at the last couple of first quarters for him, just to kind of see if there's an edge here. Luka had 11 real points in the last first quarter. In the game prior, he had 9 on the dot, so there's a push. And then the game before that, he had 7. There's got to be an easier way to look at this, right? Let me see if StatMuse will give me. Wait, do they? No, they don't do the game log here. So let me do Luka Doncic FGA by game first. How do we type first quarter?
Yeah, by game
field goal
log,
attempts by game log last 5 games. Hopefully this will bring back. So shot attempts in the first quarter, the last 5 games: 9, 7, 10, 10, and 9. So with the prop line being 9 points right now, he is pushed or eclipsed that in all but one game, which ironically was the home game. But in that game, he took 10 shot attempts, so he just wasn't hitting. He had 7 and 7 in the first quarter, 7-7-5 in the first quarter of that game.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, so that's why his his PRA is probably the way to go, or his fantasy, right?
Do they ever offer that for first quarter, or is it always just?
I wish for him.
Yeah,
no, I meant for first half.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just trying to see if we can get an edge on the first quarter. By the way,
I like that first quarter call. I mean, it's pretty edgy and smart. It just depends. Like, he could just go distribute mode early on, like he did that particular game.
It looks like it went to 9.5.
They're listening.
Am I tripping? I thought I just read 9, but now I'm seeing 9.5. Hey, Shay and Mikey, appreciate the subs. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate that. All right, cool. So working on this list then. We'll go Luka full game fantasy, Jalen Brunson real points, fantasy points, Dorian Finney-Smith fantasy points. And that's all I got here. I do think there is some merit in maybe trying to dissect the first half advantage. Yes, Luka is going to get gassed and burnt out, more than likely, based on how involved I ran the Wowie. This series, Luka has a 42.2% usage rate. That's insane. And for the minutes that he's going to play, that's wild. So I do think there's some reasoning, some sound reasoning in looking at the first half, or maybe even looking at second half unders or something like that, if you have a game script that favors the Suns. But man, I do like the back against the wall, gotta play your heart out, because there's no tomorrow if you don't, attitude for guys like Luka, for guys like Joel Embiid. So I'm kind of playing maybe a little bit more with the emotions there, but I'm going with the overs here. So you ready to recap the slate? In chat, if you guys have favorite calls and whatnot, be sure to throw them at us. Looking at the poll, also looking at the likes, chat. We did a late stream and we can't get 100 likes. Come on, bro. Come on. Hook us up, man. Hit that like button. We're at 40. That's better than I thought.
And after that breakdown yesterday, man, it was.
All right, I'm going to end the poll here. 101 votes, Josh. 58% of our community think that the Warriors are still going to win this series.
I hope so. I hope they're right.
Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
You voted Grizzlies, huh?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. The nerve of some people. You just.
Hey, man. I mean, Otto might be out. That's huge. That's bigger than you might think. Kerr's gone. He's not coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a different conversation. Hey, shout out to all you guys jumping into the Discord. S. David and Shanika. has jumped in there in the last hour or so. If you guys are out there lurking, we have a completely free Discord. You guys can keep the conversation going 24/7. The live sweat, the hey, this game's going this way. What are we thinking second half? What are we thinking fourth quarter, man? The grind does not stop when I hit end stream. So if you guys want to be part of this community, all you gotta do is bring the vibes. I don't care if you're throwing $5 cards, $500 cards, man. There's no egos in here. All we do is want to see each other thrive and win. So go be part of the action. Link in the description below, and then be cool. Be cool. So recapping the list that I've got Heat, Jimmy Butler fantasy points, 1.5 steals. Max Strus, 3.5 rebounds. 76ers, I'm taking first half Harden points and or PRA. James Harden full game free throws. Joel Embiid fantasy points, full game. For the Suns, Chris Paul 2 turnovers or 8.5 assists. Devin Booker fantasy points or real points. Mikal Bridges 20.5 PRA or 1.5 blocks and steal or fantasy points. And then for the Mavs, I'm taking Luka over fantasy points, Jalen Brunson real points and or fantasy points, and then Dorian Finney-Smith fantasy points. So that's what I jotted down note-wise from our conversation. Did I miss one? Like, did you think this shouldn't be missed? Like, you think we have to add it? Or nah?
Wait, sorry. Did you say you said Lucas fit fantasy and then his first half PRA?
I didn't, but we can add it. First half PRA.
Yeah, I think that'll be a popular one with the Harden that we can all sweat as a group together tonight. And then I think the other one Devin Booker's 4.5 rebounds and 2.5 turnovers, and Finney's 4.5 rebounds.
Okay. All right. I'm in agreement with that. Also, I saw a question in the chat about if there's any rivals we like on Underdog. So go check that out if you guys aren't sure what that means. There's in addition to the prop mode that they have a rivals mode with handicaps players against each other for specific props. For instance, Jimmy Butler versus Joel Embiid. They have them heads up for who has more real points. That's an interesting one. But for PRA, they're giving your win sprinting homie 7.5 PRA versus James Harden. They're going Adebayo plus 3.5 rebounds versus Embiid. So basically, that means that in order for Joel Embiid to win this 1v1, he would need 4 more rebounds than what Adebayo accomplishes in real life. So that's how that works. There's a little bit of a handicap. That's Tyler Hero plus 3.5 PRA versus Tyrese Maxey. Looking at the Heat game, we got Mikal Bridges versus Chris Paul straight up for more rebounds. We got Jay Crowder plus 1 on the three-pointer made against Devin Booker. Maybe we road. I know Crowder's been getting those wide open shots, but we could maybe road game a Crowder who he had a dislocated shoulder, right? So maybe his shot's not going to be as smooth. Right. We got Booker rebounds and assists versus Ayton. We got Cam Johnson versus Devin Booker. Cam Johnson gets plus 2 rebounds. Then we got real points. Luka Doncic versus Devin Booker, 5.5, plus 5.5 for Devin Booker. None of these are like screaming at me that I think it's that lopsided. I'm thinking maybe here's one: Brunson versus DeAndre Ayton, real points, without giving you the handicap. Would you say, no doubt about it, you expect Brunson to score more than Ayton tonight?
Tough.
Okay, that's fine. My gut call was I expected. For me, I thought yes, but it's fine if you don't. So
I mean, if you have a lean on it, I don't have a lean because Ayton's unpredictable. He has the better matchup, and then Brunson, he could lose out due to matchup and Luka eating up all the shot volume.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Straight up, Chris Paul versus Jalen Brunson, PRA. Wow, you're not snap calling that one either, bro. Okay. All right.
It's just these home road splits. Yeah, I mean, I'll go Brunson.
Brunson to have more PRA straight up than Chris Paul?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Okay. I mean, that's
these home road splits, bro. They're just so
Yeah.
Nothing lasts forever. It might just break this barrier might break today, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did Chris Paul have the last two the last two games at Mavs? Let me look it up.
Yeah, I mean
He
it's
had
closer than I would have pegged it, but I
17 and 23 PRA.
Mm-hmm. I actually have I have Chris Paul for like 1 PRA more than Brunson, and the pushback there is they're giving you plus 1.5 on Brunson, so it's a lot closer than.
Oh
maybe
wow,
I thought it was.
Brunson's crushing him at home or at the Mavs.
Okay, so then
Like
you would
double.
so you would take Chris Paul plus 1.5 PRA more versus or excuse me, Jalen Brunson plus 1.5 PRA versus Chris Paul, something that you would.
I mean, yeah, because of the situation, but I don't like just saying that out loud. I don't like that. Yeah.
All right. I have found that their rivals are so well matched that I don't often have like a favorite here, but every now and then I'll get something that I really.
Especially in the playoffs, it's so different. Like regular season, you can probably get a better lean on it, but yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, man. That is our lines here. We're gonna keep the conversation going a little bit.
Who wins, Gun? What's your final predictions for tonight?
I would like. So I think I've been saying the Suns are the best team in basketball for like
I'm with you.
6 months now. So I
I'm
kind
saying the same thing.
they're gonna have to show that they can win on the road and beat a team that they're supposed to beat here. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go Suns here.
Okay. They cover the spread, 3-point spread. You think?
Yeah. Also, I would like to see Luka win, but I think it's Suns, and I would also kind of just like the idea of Chris Paul getting a ring. And then the Sixers, man, I can't call that game, but I've seen the Heat completely disappear throughout the end of the regular season, and I think this will be the Embiid statement game, and we're going to get a lot of answers really quickly on the future of the 76ers if they lose this game in an embarrassing fashion, because Embiid, halfway through coming into the season, Embiid had this like reputation that he's soft and he's injury prone and he's sitting out games. I don't ever want to hear that crap again.
No,
when he's playing with a busted face and a torn thumb and he's facing one of the top defenses. So hopefully we can put that aside, but then it might create. If the Sixers lose, it's hard to expect a long future of Doc Rivers, because he has certainly made some questionable decisions in this postseason, and then you really have to evaluate what James Harden offers your team going forward. So, I think the Sixers can steal that one. So I'm gonna go Sixers and Suns.
I like that. That was a fair analysis. Yeah. Hopefully Embiid's got one more left in him.
One more again. All right, so are you gonna post the prop detector in the?
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
gonna keep it short and concise because I'm probably not gonna go heavy on that first game. So.
All right, chat. So if you're out there, if you are a member of the channel or you want to become one, there's a join button below the video, and then when you link your YouTube with your Discord, you'll get access to this one. Josh posts his prop detector, so when Josh posts some big fat screenshots later, a lot of it is straight. Almost all of it, unless it's like a fourth quarter tilt bet, is from that list here. Also, shout out to YouTube. They're featuring a lot of you guys on the channel page now. So if you guys do sign up, hey man, give yourself an avatar so I don't just see S's, J's, and A's and C's, and you guys will be right there on the main page, man. I definitely appreciate you guys. This program is going to allow us to do a lot more going forward as far as content for the channel. So appreciate you guys hanging out on a later than usual stream. These are games that could create some ripple effects in the schedule going forward, right? If both teams go home, we may not have a slate in 2 days, and then I think next week we're gonna have some slates that start way later because of the West Coast teams. So the schedule is gonna get pretty fluid going forward, but we're gonna do our best to keep putting out some consistent content.
And then WNBA.
Are you really gonna do some videos for that?
I'm all in, bro. I got the league pass. I already started watching.
Okay. Hey, I'm not gonna tell you no. I'm not gonna tell you no.
And then depending on how the community reacts, maybe we can do some live streams here and there on lazy fun days.
Here's what you could root for, Josh and chat. If every game goes to a game 7, we'll have a 4-game slate on Sunday.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. Look, can you switch your day off from Sunday to Saturday?
Yeah, maybe. I think my girl works that day, so I could probably get away with that. But that's if that happens. I don't think it's gonna happen. But every series right now is 3-2, right?
Yes.
So if every series gets even up, how amazing would a full Sunday of Game 7s be?
The
Bruh.
odds of that.
I got chills thinking of that though. Like that's
Oh yeah.
that's incredible.
We'd have to do like a 3-hour special stream.
Just live stream it and sweat it. I'd be game for that. Whatever.
Oh, and if the Warriors are in that slate, you're gonna see me just raging and breaking stuff and driving to the bridge.
All right, chat. We gotta get you out of here. I love you guys. I appreciate you hanging out. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money. Would that be better than like the Christmas slate to just have a whole?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I wonder how often that happens. Like,
Probably never. Like I don't think it's gonna happen, but it's possible. Bam, 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 bam.
Okay, what time is the baseball?